Most of us grew up believing that medicine was progress, that each new prescription was another step toward healing. But what if I told you that for seniors today, it's not disease alone that's sending people to the ER, it's the very medications prescribed to protect them? I'm Susan Miller, and this is Senior Health Talks. And today, we're tackling one of the most urgent and overlooked crises in senior health: polypharmacy, or as I like to put it, taking too many pills. And today, we're tackling one of the most. By the end of this episode, you'll not only know how to spot the warning signs in your own medicine cabinet, but you'll also have a safe, step-by-step way to work with your doctor to reduce the risks. This could be the conversation that saves you or someone you love from a future no one deserves. Dr. Harper, I want to start with something personal. My neighbor, Ellen, she's 76, lovely woman, sharp as a tack. But over the past year, I noticed she's been moving slower, forgetting things, seeming off. Then she told me she's on 12 prescriptions. 12! For everything from cholesterol to sleep. Her doctor never really sat her down to say, let's step back. And it hit me. How many Ellens are out there right now?
Susan, Ellen's story is unfortunately not rare. It's the rule. Research shows that nearly 40% of adults over 65 are on 5 or more prescriptions at the same time. And here's the chilling statistic. Medication-related problems are responsible for about 1 in 10 hospital admissions in seniors. Not because the pills are bad in themselves, but because nobody stops to ask if they still make sense together for this stage of life.
Wait, so it's not just the side effects of one pill? It's the mix?
Exactly. Think of it like mixing paints. One color's fine, maybe even 2 or 3, but you keep adding more, and suddenly the canvas turns muddy brown. Medicines interact in the same way. Blood pressure pills that cause dizziness, mixed with a sleep aid that slows reflexes, can lead to devastating falls. And falls, Susan, are a leading cause of injury-related death in seniors. The heartbreaking part is, many of those falls were preventable if we'd adjusted the meds earlier.
So, in a way, the danger isn't just the disease. It's the silence around asking, do I still need this?
Yes, and silence is costly. A 2022 study in the Journal of the American Geriatrics Society found that when seniors underwent structured medication reviews, where a pharmacist and doctor teamed up to reassess prescriptions, about 27% of medications could be safely reduced or stopped. Yet, in routine care, that review often doesn't happen, which means millions of seniors are swallowing pills every day that may be doing more harm than good.
I can already hear some of our listeners thinking, but my doctor prescribed it. Doesn't that mean it's necessary? And honestly, Dr. Harper, even I felt that. Like, if I push back, I'm questioning their expertise. It feels intimidating.
And you're not alone. That fear keeps a lot of patients quiet. But here's the unseen truth. Most doctors actually appreciate when patients ask about deprescribing. They just may not have time to bring it up themselves. In fact, a Canadian study showed that when patients initiated the conversation, more than 80% of doctors agreed to try deprescribing at least one medication. So it's not about challenging their authority. It's about partnering in your care.
I'll be honest, partnering sounds a lot better than just nodding along.
Exactly. And here's something even more encouraging. Deprescribing doesn't mean stopping everything at once. It's a careful, step-by-step process. Think of it like pruning a garden. You don't yank out every plant. You remove what's overgrown, what's choking the healthy growth, so the rest can thrive.
That makes so much sense. But I imagine some people are thinking, if I stop my pills, won't my health collapse? And that fear alone can keep them locked into these regimens forever.
That fear is real, but studies show the opposite is often true. A trial published in JAMA Internal Medicine followed seniors who reduced their medications under medical supervision. The result? Improved quality of life, fewer side effects, and in many cases, no worsening of the conditions those medications were treating. The key is supervision. You never deprescribe alone. You always do it with guidance.
So deprescribing isn't about less care, it's about better care.
Absolutely. And here's the twist I want listeners to hear clearly. The most dangerous medication is often not the one you're taking, but the one nobody questions. And that's where the conversation with your doctor becomes life-saving.
And I want us to dig into that next because so many seniors feel like their doctor doesn't listen. So what can they say in that exam room that actually works? Don't go anywhere. Dr. Harper is going to give us the exact words you can use to start that conversation right after this. You know, Dr. Harper, I can picture our listeners right now sitting across from their doctor, the clock ticking, a pile of prescriptions in their purse or pocket, and they're thinking, how do I even bring this up without sounding difficult? I've been in that chair myself, and it's intimidating.
It really is, and that's why having just a couple of ready phrases can make all the difference. Something as simple as, "Doctor, I want to understand which of my medications are still essential for me right now," can completely change the tone. It shifts the conversation from challenging authority to partnering in your care.
Oh, that feels doable. That doesn't sound combative at all. It's like saying, I respect you, but I want to understand my own health.
Exactly. And here's another phrase I love. Can we go through my prescriptions one by one and talk about whether the benefits still outweigh the risks? It sounds simple, but the science backs it. A 2021 review in BMJ Open showed that when seniors asked that exact question, doctors were much more likely to adjust or stop unnecessary medications. And the result wasn't worse health. It was fewer side effects, better balance, and even improvements in memory and energy.
I think about my neighbor Ellen again. She told me she just felt foggy all the time and assumed it was aging. But maybe it was the medicine.
You're right to wonder. And that's a heartbreaking truth we don't talk about enough. What looks like aging is sometimes a side effect. Anticholinergic drugs, for example, often prescribed for bladder problems or allergies, can cause confusion and memory loss. The problem is, unless someone connects the dots, it gets mislabeled as dementia. Imagine the emotional toll of thinking your mind is slipping away when really it's the pill bottle.
Ugh, that hits hard. To think someone might be living in fear of losing themselves when maybe they don't have to.
And here's the twist. A 2020 study in JAMA Network Open found that when those drugs were reduced, many seniors actually regained cognitive function. Their thinking sharpened, their mood lifted. That's the power of deprescribing. It gives people back parts of themselves they thought were gone forever.
Oh, soft sigh. Reflective. Dr. Harper, I think a lot of listeners are leaning forward right now, maybe whispering to themselves, that's me, or that's my mom. But then comes the fear. What if my doctor brushes me off? What then?
That happens, unfortunately. Some doctors are pressed for time, others may be defensive, but you have a right to be heard. If you feel dismissed, you can say, "This is important to me. Can we schedule a separate appointment just to review my medications?" That way, you carve out space for it. And if you still feel unheard, remember, you can ask for a pharmacist consultation or even a second opinion. Your voice matters.
That makes me think of my dad years ago. He would just nod at everything the doctor said, even if he didn't understand. And later he'd tell me, I didn't want to bother them. But isn't that silence part of what keeps so many seniors trapped?
It is. Silence is one of the most dangerous prescriptions, and breaking it gently, respectfully, is the safest step you can take. Because here's the hidden truth. In the U.S. alone, medication overload is estimated to cause 275,000 hospitalizations and about 150,000 deaths every year. That's according to the Lown Institute's 2020 report, and yet most of that harm is preventable.
150,000 lives, lost not to disease, but to the very medications meant to help. That's staggering.
And here's what makes it even urgent. By 2030, 1 in 5 Americans will be over 65. If we don't change how we manage medications now, the crisis will only grow. But the good news is, deprescribing works. It's been studied, tested, and shown to improve quality of life when done carefully.
Which means the power is still in our hands, if we know what to say, if we dare to ask.
Exactly, and that's why I encourage patients to actually practice their lines at home. Say it out loud in the mirror. Doctor, can you help me understand which medications are most important for me right now? That confidence, even if it feels a little awkward at first, can make all the difference when you're sitting in the exam room.
I can picture some of our listeners now practicing in front of the bathroom mirror, maybe even writing it on a sticky note to bring along. And honestly, I love that because it makes the conversation real, not just an idea.
And sometimes, Susan, those tiny acts of preparation change everything. I had a patient, we'll call her Margaret, who came in with a grocery bag of pill bottles. She was exhausted, barely able to get through the day. And she looked me right in the eye and said, "Doctor, I need your help to take fewer pills, not more." It was the first time anyone had put it to me so directly. We reviewed every single prescription, and over 6 months she went from 12 pills down to 5. The difference? She started gardening again, cooking again, living again, and it all began with that one bold sentence.
That's beautiful, and I can imagine listeners thinking, that could be me. Which makes me wonder, Dr. Harper, what's the first step someone listening tonight should take right after this episode ends?
The very first step, make a complete list of your medications, prescriptions, over-the-counter drugs, vitamins, even herbal supplements. Most people forget at least a few. Bring that full list to your doctor, because until we see the whole picture, we can't begin to safely adjust it. That simple act, writing it all down, is where the journey starts.
So even before the big conversations, the power begins with a pen and paper. That feels doable for everyone.
Exactly. And once you have that list, the questions naturally follow. Which of these are still helping me? Which could be causing harm? Which are safe to stop? Those 3 questions can open the door to a healthier, freer life.
And I want to go deeper into that because there are certain medications I know that pose especially high risks for seniors, and many families have never been warned. I'd love for us to shine a light on that next because it could be the difference between independence and a devastating fall. Dr. Harper, before the break, you mentioned that some medications carry especially high risks for seniors. And that gave me chills because I know so many of our listeners and their families probably assume if it's prescribed, it must be safe. Can you help us understand what's really going on there?
Yes, and this part is critical. Not all medications are created equal when it comes to older adults. Take sedatives, for example. Benzodiazepines like Valium or Atevin. They might be prescribed for anxiety or sleep, but in seniors, they dramatically increase the risk of falls, fractures, and memory impairment. The irony is that they're often given to help people rest, yet the long-term effect can be loss of independence. And too often, no one explains that trade-off.
So what feels like help in the moment can quietly steal your stability later.
Exactly. And another big one is what we call anticholinergic drugs, used for allergies, depression, bladder control. These can cloud thinking, dry out the body, and contribute to confusion. A 2019 study in JAMA Internal Medicine actually showed a strong link between long-term use of these medications and a higher risk of dementia. Yet many seniors are still on them daily, sometimes for years.
Oh my, that's devastating. And most people would never know to connect the dots between their bladder pill and their memory struggles.
And that's why shining a light on this matters. Even common over-the-counter sleep aids, things you can grab at the drugstore, fall into that same category. People think it's over-the-counter, it's harmless. But in seniors, those so-called harmless pills can contribute to confusion and dangerous nighttime falls.
Which means it's not just about what your doctor prescribes, it's also what you quietly add to the mix without realizing it could be the final straw.
That's right, and I want listeners to hear this clearly. Deprescribing is not about fear, it's about freedom. Imagine carrying a backpack that's gotten heavier year after year. At some point, it's not helping you move forward, it's slowing you down, even hurting you. Taking unnecessary medications away is like lifting that weight. It gives you back energy, clarity, and control.
I love that image because when you say freedom, I can feel it. And I think that's what so many people want, not to be tied to a pill box with 20 compartments, but to actually live again.
And here's the good news. We know how to do it safely. The process usually starts by identifying one medication that might be risky or unnecessary. You taper it under supervision, see how the body responds, and then move to the next. A 2021 trial in The Lancet Healthy Longevity found that even reducing just one inappropriate medication improved seniors' mobility and daily function. So small steps really do add up.
Small steps, that's reassuring because I can already imagine some listeners saying, I can't just throw away half my pills tomorrow. And you're saying, no, it's a careful dance, one step at a time.
Exactly. No cold turkey, no sudden stops without guidance. It's always about balance and safety. And here's another key point. When seniors deprescribe, doctors often add something back in, but it's not another pill. It's lifestyle. Things like better sleep hygiene, nutrition, exercise. In many cases, those changes do more for health than the medication ever did.
So it's not about subtracting care, it's about redefining care.
Well said, Susan. And there's an emotional layer, too. Many seniors feel their identity wrapped up in their prescriptions, like their pills are proof someone cares for them. Letting go can feel frightening, even like abandonment. That's why families play such a vital role. Instead of saying, "Why are you on all these pills?" it helps to ask, "How do these medicines make you feel each day?" That opens the door without shame.
That hits home for me. My mom, before she passed, had a cabinet full of pill bottles. And I remember thinking, this is love. This is protection. But looking back, I wonder how many of those bottles were really keeping her safe.
And that's the heart of it, Susan. Love isn't measured in pill counts. It's measured in quality of life. If the medicine helps, it's a blessing. If it harms, then love is asking if it's time to let it go.
That's powerful.
And here's what I want every listener to know. Deprescribing isn't about less treatment. It's about the right treatment. Done safely, it can reduce dizziness, sharpen thinking, improve sleep, and even extend independence at home. That's not just theory. It's backed by multiple large-scale studies from Canada, Australia, and the US. And the common thread is, when seniors and doctors partner in these conversations, lives improve.
So if you're listening tonight, maybe even glancing at that pill organizer on your nightstand, I want you to hear this. You have more power than you think. And it starts with one simple question at your next appointment. Doctor, which of these medications do I still truly need? That's your key.
And once that door is open, Susan, everything changes. Because the truth is, the safest medicine isn't always the newest prescription. Sometimes it's the courage to let one go.
And that's exactly what I hope our listeners take with them tonight. That courage. Dr. Harper, thank you for guiding us through such a life-changing conversation.
My pleasure, Susan. And to every listener, remember, you're not alone in this. Your doctor, your pharmacist, your family, they can all be part of this journey. It starts with your voice.
Until then, take a breath, look at your pill box with fresh eyes, and remember, you deserve care that keeps you safe, strong, and free.